morning, everyone. It's your favorite mutant's favorite nerd. And we're going to talk a little bit about the film X-Men Days of Future Past. Black Socks out in public. I really feel like I need a drink after seeing that and then having to talk about it. I don't want my demeanor to make you think that it's bad, because it's not. It's not bad at all. It's good. It's just it's exhausting. I don't know what to say, almost. So I'm gonna try to do the best I can. We'll break it down into our usual good, bad, and ugly, and go from there. I'm at a loss for words, and I can admit it. It doesn't even sound right coming out of my mouth, but I can admit it. So the good, it really tries to fix problems that exist between the 2 Wolverine movies, the 3 X-Men movies, and then the First Class movie. It really tries its hardest. Like it recognizes, I feel like it recognizes the problems and tries its best to correct them. The problem with that is it has a hard time getting out of its own way sometimes. It's kind of in my new tagline this week, but that's how it feels. There's continuity issues that have been laid down from the beginning, from the first film, that now they're trying to kind of correct, and I don't know if they didn't think it was going to be successful at first, so they just threw caution to the wind. But now there's issues with it. That being said, I think it does try. The cast does a pretty good job, across the board. There's nobody that stands out as a bad choice or a bad, job. Really, Quicksilver maybe. It's like it's not really so much him as much as it is the writing. But you get to see kind of Sunspot do his thing, and that's really done well, especially at the in the later scenes. It's kind of how you've always imagined Sunspot, except with a little bit of a Human Torch flair. I kind of like Sunspot where he's like got more of like the charcoal burn. I think they went a Human Torch vibe to kind of get a dramatic flair, and that's how that ended up that way, but whatever. And you get to see some cool stuff with Iceman. You get to see the mutants really let loose. Bishop looks cool. But anyway, the cast does a good job. It's shot well. Bryan Singer shoots it well. You can tell he's back behind the camera because, you get to see a lot of Wolverine. A lot of Wolverine. A lot of Wolverine. These X-Men movies are kind of like Wolverine and Friends. But, good on them. There's a lot more development between Charles and Eric and what they kind of mean to each other, and that whole, inclusive, exclusive, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Megatron, Optimus kind of vibe and gel, and it enriches that, and that's nice to see. And they also do a good job of explaining Beast and Charles, and why Charles is now walking, and why Beast looks different and looks human, and then when he beasts out, he looks less cat-like, less astonishing X-Men. A little bit more Jim Lee, Chris Claremont Beast. There's a lot of good. The Sentinels in the past look cool. They maybe could stand to be a little bigger, but it's not hateful. The effects are top notch. It seems like they're back to taking it seriously, after that Part 3 fiasco. If you're an X-Men fan in the books, and you know that there's problems with when they start digging into the past and the future, and they make these little trips back and forth, and the Sentinels always play a part in it. I come from the school of X-Men, from Chris Claremont, Frank Miller, Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri, Rob Liefeld. My feet are bigger than any foot Rob Liefeld has ever drawn. Willis Portacio. I grew up on that school of X-Men, which spawned the 90s cartoon and all that, and I just have a very kind of set motif for what I want, and there's problems that have been laid down in these movies that have just kind of destroyed any chance of that happening. But I think that Bryan Singer made a conscious effort to hit that reset button the best he could. Now there's rumors of, Hugh Jackman only doing so many more Wolverine roles, so, maybe they'll have to do a hard reboot at some point. It's a tough one to call because it's not bad. It's good, but it's only as good as it allows itself to be. They're only as good as the world allows them to be. You'll see. It's only as good as its other films have allowed it to be, but it is as good as it can be within those confines. The bad, there's not an awful lot of it. I have some complaints, one of them being the continuity problems, and, I'm a fan of the books, and, they kind of swap Kitty Pryde for Wolverine, because if a movie doesn't have Wolverine at the front so they can sell toy claws to kids, then what are you going to do? There's political aspects of it that they don't dig a whole lot into, and it's mainly because they did away with Robert Kelly in the first film, and they could have gone back and reset that, but I guess they would have to find the same actor, and it's just like, it becomes a headache, and I feel for them. It kind of has a bit of Rhino from Spider-Man issue, where the cool stuff that you see in the trailer from the future is a lot of what you see in the movie in the future. Not all of it, but a lot of it. One of its big problems is its inconsistencies. They don't kind of correct the problems from the Wolverine movie with the claws and the metal and all that kind of stuff. They don't really set that straight, I guess, unless you take it as a wash that it never happened. Quicksilver is one of my complaints, and it's not so much the guy playing him, it's the way they wrote him as like this laughy, jokey, fun kind of trickster, wild card. And I think one of the things that makes Quicksilver the most interesting is his relationship to his sister and then to Magneto, and kind of always trying to be the favorite kid and never quite living up to the standard that Scarlet Witch has in terms of power and all that. And that's what I kind of dig about Quicksilver. And they don't really go that route. They just kind of had this idea for a scene, and they shoehorn it into the movie, and it's kind of like, I just imagine Bryan Singer well, what other X-Men do we have? Well, there's this guy, he runs fast. He runs fast. He sure does. How fast? Well, this fast. Oh, that makes me have an idea for a scene. I want to do this, and I want to fit it in somehow. You guys figure that bit out. And that's kind of my problem there. And it kind of feels a little forced, and then eventually becomes non-consequential or inconsequential. So, that's not my favorite. That's not my favorite aspect of it. They're just trying to right so many wrongs that, to me, when I was reading X-Men and being an X-Men fan when I was a kid, the great thing about X-Men is the soap opera-ness. It's the family drama. It's, the character relationships in the team between each other. And they spend so much time trying to fix all these little issues that they don't really get to dive into that. You do get a little bit of it with Wolverine and Beast, but cherish those moments because they are not in abundance. In terms of the ugly, it's shot well. It looks good. It's pretty. The big character arcs are with Mystique and Charles, and Charles, we've kind of already dealt with his arc in First Class, so it's kind of getting redundant to have to go through it again. I wish they would have kind of, maybe delve into Quicksilver a little bit or another character and kind of bring them to the forefront. One thing, though, does Charles have to do this every time he uses his powers? Is this like a button that he pushes? Or is it to signal to us, the audience, that he's now using his telekinetic powers? Are we that dumb? Where unless he does this, we don't know. We're not sure. It's kind of drags sometimes, and you kind of wish he would just kind of get up and go at a certain point. And, there's not a whole lot of Easter eggs. It doesn't seem like there was a whole lot for the fans aside from trying to right the previous wrongs. And that is a big undertaking, and I do commend them for that. But that is the ugliness of it, is that there's so much going on in that franchise between 2 Wolverine movies, 3 X-Men movies, and then the First Class soft reboot. There's a lot of mistakes that have been made, and it's not an easy task to right those mistakes. Now we have to hope that they don't screw it up again with decisions like Channing Tatum as Gambit. It's kind of like Mr. Incredible. Can I leave you guys alone for 10 minutes without you going and screwing up everything? That's kind of how this could turn out to be. And then when you bring the future into it, and then any movie that deals with the past, the present, and the future, or whatever you want to, however you want to see that timeline, it gets a little muddy, you know. And then, but we're already dealing with something that's muddy. It's milk with chocolate syrup that's been added to it, and they're kind of trying to separate the milk and syrup again. Obviously, you can't take the chocolate syrup away from the milk. What they're trying to do is pour the chocolate milk into a much bigger glass and then fill that glass with much more milk, so it just dilutes the chocolate a lot more, if that makes sense. It's kind of a decent metaphor. Pretty good. By now, I'm guessing that you've seen Amazing Spider-Man 2 and you saw the bonus scene at the end. Well, that bonus scene is in this X-Men movie, and why? It doesn't really move the X-Men story along that much. It's just kind of to show, oh, and look, we know this character, and we know that character, and without really giving them any love. Give them some love. Maybe a little bit of love. A little bit of love. Everybody needs a little bit of love. It's just kind of worthless. Maybe they, I don't know. I think it was probably going to be a cutscene, and they were going to use it to promote something else and threw it in Spider-Man for the heck of it. There's a lot of like little bits that like don't have to really do with correcting the, you know, with dealing with the timelines of past, present, and future, and that's the meat and potatoes. That's what everybody wants, I feel like, to kind of sink their teeth into. There's a lot of distractions along the way, and that kind of gets obnoxious, and that's one of them. Now, I'm not going to spoil this for you, but, you know, I had heard that the end scene was going to be him in the mask, and I had even posted a picture of it in my group, if you follow it, that it was official, and that picture is not official. And the end scene is after, it's at the end of the credits, so stick around to the end of the credits. And I'd love to hear your opinion on that end scene. Leave it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. I have my own, but I don't want to spoil it for you. But it's worth sticking around for. That much I'll say. In terms of final thoughts, it's definitely worth seeing. It's a good X-Men movie. You know, it's good stuff. It's not the movie I deserve. It's the movie I need. It's the movie that tries to right the problems that I've had with this franchise from day one, so that I can enjoy good, decent X-Men movies in the future. So, like, I'm not excited about this movie. I'm excited about the next movie, if that makes any sense. It's like when you're a young person and you find a significant other and you guys are becoming intimate. And you've been intimate a few times now. It's not always as exciting anymore. You know, it's becoming routine. But what I think that this particular one did is all the little things that went wrong in those little intimate gatherings that you may have had before, all those things you're like, I wish I would have done that, I wish this didn't go that way, that was kind of awkward, fixes it so maybe the next time will be exciting. And that's what I'm hoping for. So thanks for listening, thanks for watching, till next time, take care.